when a football team only wins 4 games in a season, especially one that has 17 games in it, it's never a good thing. It's always going to be hard to try to find something positive. I think a lot of us were riding that high from the team getting sold and having, this idea that maybe things would change and that the future was looking brighter. We all thought that this was going to be a better football season than it actually turned out to be. In actuality, the guy who has been running this team for the last 4 years has been doing a piss poor job in the personnel department. And all of those decisions kind of just came back to haunt this franchise at the exact wrong time. I also believe that the defensive coordinator should have been let go a lot sooner. And if the offensive line and the linebacker positions would have been addressed at least a little differently, I believe we would have been looking at a lot better team this year. I believe we would have been looking at least a few more wins this season. I fully believe if that offensive line was better, we'd be looking at a much different team. But, here we are, a 4-12 football team that's really tough to watch, actually. And at this point in the season, most of us are sitting back like, oh no, I just hope they have a decent showing. But, you don't want to pull for your team to lose. But at the same time, if they win, the only thing that we have to gain now is losing draft status, which is not really a good thing, guys. But I will tell you, the dislike I have for the Dallas Cowboys has me this week in an odd place. I've always been that guy that says, no matter what, we have to beat Dallas. Their fans are so annoying that I always hated that star so much that it just always kind of fueled me to want to beat them no matter what. To try to see their fans just, I don't know, that last game of the season and they just cry about it, make up excuses and disappear for a while. To me, that's always been fun to knock them off the last game of the year. It's kind of grabbed this little quote unquote title, little tag, so to speak, as our Super Bowl each year, especially the years that they let us play them on Thanksgiving and the last game of the year. Me personally, I'd like to have a replay of 2012 every year where we're playing for the division and then we end the year by winning on our, home turf. But as every other fan of the burgundy and gold, I have been left to not get what I want from this franchise for a long time. And the frustration from that has definitely led me to where I'm at right now, where I want to see a complete rebuild. I want to see this team, I want to see them do it the right way. I want to see this owner hire a GM that's on the cutting edge of football and, wants the franchise to head down the right road and knows what they're doing and has a bright future ahead of them, whoever it may be. I've already put out a smaller list of people that I've kind of got my eye on, but I suspect that the list is definitely a lot bigger than I could imagine of candidates of people who could end up being interviewed for the position. And real organizations hire a general manager who in turn turns around and hires the head coach who in turn turns around and hires their staff. That's how real football teams do it. So I understand if somebody that's been a fan of the burgundy and gold for 20, 30 years now, and you've been watching the team do things the wrong way, and you don't understand the way this process is supposed to work. See, the overall vision is supposed to come from the general manager, who's supposed to then talk it over with whoever he picks to be the head coach. The vision's supposed to come from your general manager, not from your owner, not from your coach. From the general manager. If the coach doesn't work out, the GM picks another coach, not the owner. The owner employs the general manager to do his job. Now, I know for most of you that's day one stuff, but there are a lot of people out there that are confused by this process because all they've seen is ineptitude by this franchise. At any rate, you might wonder why I'm not talking about the football games or what happened last week. Everything is so whacked out at this point about this franchise that I would be wasting time trying to come on here and break down what's going on with this team. Anybody that's still doing that is trying to be negative and point out all the things that are wrong. This coach should have been gone weeks ago. The only reason he's not is because this new owner or this new ownership group doesn't want to come off as like they're coming in and trying to do things the wrong way. They want to come off as they're doing everything the right way and pulling all the right moves. You know what I mean? Like they're just going down all the avenues, exhausting all the measures they need to. I think we've all known for a while now that Ron Rivera wasn't going to be the football coach next year. If anyone is still trying to go through that in their brain, you probably need to go on and just dismiss that thought. Whether it be, he decides to quote unquote retire, step down, whatever happens, whether he gets fired, whatever happens, that job will be available coming, next week. And I believe, don't quote me, but I believe that teams are allowed to start talking to prospective general manager candidates, I believe, tomorrow. So I expect things to start moving, in a direction towards us finding out who the head of this franchise is going to be. Who is the guy that's going to be going out each year and getting the groceries for this team? Who's the guy going to be that's going to handpick our next football coach? Right now, that is priority number one with this organization. Before they get to free agency, before they get to the draft, they have to pick a GM first, who then in turn will pick a coach. An unbelievable amount of things are about to happen for the Burgundy and Gold. This is going to be an exciting and probably a stressful, next 3 months, so to speak. This is going to be a complete whirlwind happening with this organization. I expect just about everything to change. And if they're going to rebuild the right way, no one is safe on the roster. No one. I know a lot of people would like to see Terry McLaurin stay, maybe a couple guys on the defense. I know there's a couple of contracts that were just signed. Jonathan Allen comes to mind, Deron Payne. Although I will say the Payne contract will be harder to get out of than, let's say, the Allen contract that was signed a couple of years ago now, because Payne's was just signed a few months back. But everything to me is on the table. I don't want to see those two guys go anywhere, but it kind of looked like Jonathan Allen might have wanted out. Or at least, it kind of sounded like he wanted out anyway. But I don't want the team to short sell anything. If they can keep him and keep building around him, then do it. But again, that's for the GM to decide when they get hired. They come in and start making these decisions. I'm honestly really happy to be getting away from this quote-unquote coach-centric program. From day one, this coach, when he gets up there and he talks to the media, he says nothing. And I understand that the difference in, us getting used to that and maybe over time actually growing to liking it is winning and losing. But this coach has done a lot of losing. And it's kind of hard to see a full-scale, clear plan from this coach and where he's gone with the personnel as well. I've seen so many people in the last few weeks over on my Facebook page telling me about how great a man that Ron Rivera is and what he's went through as the coach. And I get that. The things away from the football field, he has gone through a lot. Having to deal with being kind of like a buffer between an owner that was, getting torn apart from every different direction by the media and had all kinds of different things going on that were definitely negative. There was no buffer there between the players, the media, and the problems. And I feel like Rivera definitely stepped in and did a big task in that situation. But he's a football coach. He's not, a life coach. They need him there to steer the football program. They're just as bad now as they were when he took over when it comes to the product on the field, when it comes to what they're doing. Yes, I realize that they have come somewhere when it comes to how they do things and the quote-unquote culture in the building. But it still has not, progressed on the football field. You're in year 4. In year 4, that's when you want to start seeing the plan come together, not see the plan that they had fall apart. What you're seeing on the football field from this team is what you should have seen in year 1 from Rivera. That's what you should have seen. You should have seen a lot of young guys towards the end of the year. If they were going to dump players, mid-season, they should have done it in that year. And I know there's going to be a lot of people, but you can't judge that because, you don't know what's going to happen. True. What I can judge is in year 4, they've won 4 games. That's completely unacceptable. Pretty much everybody knew for Rivera to be able to keep his job, he was going to have to win more games than he lost this year. And even then, some were even questioning then what his future was if he came out there and went 9-8. I felt like he needed to win 10 games to save his job. And I felt like if they could have gotten that offensive line taken care of and under control, then maybe that could have happened. And for me, it's hard to gauge what we've seen out of Sam Howell based on a lot of different things, including, you know, him now probably being gun shy after being sacked as many times as he's been put to the ground this year. I feel like going 17 games and not getting hurt, or excuse me, this will be his 17th start this week, but going 17 weeks and not getting hurt should at least put him in the conversation to see where he's at next year. You know, he's still got 2 more years of rookie contract with him. The team's going to be picking top 3. If they lose this week, it'll be top 2. You know, when that happens, you always have to have the quarterback conversation, especially with an organization that has chased that position for this long. One thing that I would love to see happening here would be for them to somehow be able to move back, get a quarterback, and get one of those top left tackles in the draft, which, by the way, this is a tackle-heavy draft. So it's not a situation where if we don't get one of the top 2 tackles at the very top of the draft, it's not like we can't find another one somewhere in that bottom part. So maybe you have to come back up in the first, or maybe they take it at the top of the second. There are plenty of tackles out here. In a perfect world, they'd be able to find somebody who wants to move up and package multiple number 1s and be able to still get that left tackle. But as we know, perfect worlds don't happen as Washington football fans. It's the cold, hard reality of it all. I would love to see this Harris group come in and change all of that. But until they do, this is the reality we live in. I think all cards are laid out on the table. Every option is available. You probably should pay attention to what they do in free agency to get a big take of what's going to happen with the draft. But it all begins with this GM being hired after Ron Rivera gets shown the door. Now, real quick, for anybody that might be interested, I've got a few things happening with the channel. We were actually able to partner with a company and come up with an app that's available on certain televisions. I think it's Roku, LG, and I know for a fact it's on Amazon devices. But if you look up Philip Hughes TV, or I think it just might be listed as Philip Hughes right now, that app will have all of the videos I upload here on YouTube on this channel, as well as my other channel, my NFL Fan Zone channel. I'm going to put that link down in the comments. From my understanding, they're supposed to be expanding into Samsung as well, so keep an eye out for that. Also, the channel has been pretty much dormant for the last month or so. That's going to come to an end. There's going to be more activity here over the next few weeks, so keep an eye on your subscription box. There'll be more content coming. But if you're not following me on Facebook at this point, you definitely need to look up the Burgundy and Gold on Facebook and follow that page. At any rate, let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. Y'all take it easy. Peace.